When you're a Fate fan, at some point you want to actually learn about the series, and naturally, wait, no, that's not the kind of learn more I meant. You will also learn that there was a VN before Fate that Type Moon and Nasu both made called Tsukihime. This VN series is about our main character Shikitono, who awakes in a hospital after an accident and suddenly sees lines on everything. Curious, he traces those lines. He finds he can cut through literally anything, living or not. One day he passes a mage and she gives him a pair of glasses so that he doesn't have to see all of those lines and won't go insane from seeing them. But one day he sees a blonde woman and has the uncontrollable urge to kill her, and so he does. He brutalizes this woman and cuts her into tiny pieces, leaving her there in the park. But the days pass, and one day he comes upon the woman again, and she wants to know why he did it. This woman is named Arkwade Brunstad, and she is a vampire. And this is Shikitono's story. So if you're not familiar, there is a meme that if you go search up Tsukihime, one of the things will pop up is Tsukihime anime does not exist, or Lunar Legend Tsukihime anime doesn't exist. This video is about getting to the bottom of that. This isn't necessarily degrading that argument, but asking, should it really not exist? So with that being said, in the anime's defense, there are a lot of things in this anime that to me should be commended for how well they're done. The first being is the character designs and their models. Okay, yeah, it does have some issues with characters looking very jank from certain angles. I will admit that, and I'm not going to try to diminish that. You have to take the good with the bad when it comes to this, I understand. But let's look at all of the good here first. The models look absolutely beautiful, and while different from the manga, it seems they tried to take an approach more in line with the visual novel. And I do really enjoy that, because while the visual novel for Tsukihime is certainly showing its age, it is cool that they actually made that art direction work in this anime. That being said, I think the manga still looks the best out of all of them, but it can't be denied that the anime may be the second best looking in terms of its character designs and overall feel. But in terms of art direction, there are some questionable choices yet, and that's the issue with a lot of mid-2000s anime, and that is its use of a film grain combined with a white vignette that reminds me of a telenovela. It simply doesn't look good, not even back then. And even now, with anime being in 1080p, they wouldn't look good. These anime just look like a blurry mess sometimes. That being said, this anime doesn't use it sometimes, and when it doesn't use it, surprise, it actually looks rather good. There is nothing better than actually being able to see the anime that actually looks really good and has good art. It's even more of a shame when you realize that the backgrounds are actually kind of magnificent and likely the best backgrounds in the series as a whole, closely followed by the Tsukihime manga, of course. And honestly, for the mid-2000s, this anime just does really well in the background department. But the absolute best thing about this anime adaptation that you can't take away from it or try to diminish is the music. And oh my, this music is straight up the best music in the series by far. The VN has this electronic music that sounds good, but was obviously created on a budget. But the anime, with its better budget and its better composer, made some really great stuff here. These songs set the tones of scenes really well and is used to convey emotions the viewer should, well, feel. For example, when panning up to the Tono mansion, plays this badass music that just totally defines the tone of the house and what's inside it. Not only that though, but the opening is terrific. It's a song with a tight drum track where the fills really shake up the sound and the bass follows along with a funky and moving riff. To add a little color to it though, it adds a nice chorus to really set the tone. And of course, the opening is beautiful with Arkwade breaking from her lonely chains and free falling with the breeze around her. Same with the ending too. They're both really exceptional. And finally, the voice acting, which isn't perfect because, well, this came out in the mid-2000s, but once again, is better than it should be, especially from the time period. The dub for this anime was done by Bang Zoom, which in recent memory was a part of the fantastic ReZero dub, and sadly also outsourced the Ico dub, which I talked about in my review for it, links in the description. Their track record isn't necessarily clean, but they're responsible for some of the best dubs out right now and in the past. And this is to me one of their better dubs, and the casting is pretty much stacked and perfect for this anime. Every single voice is pretty much on point, and I hope when they go to remake this anime that they carry over these voice actors. Just some examples of the people working on this, though. We have Michelle Ruff, who plays Asada in SAO, Kaori and Akira, Aoi Tosaka in Fate Zero, and Saber in Fate Apocrypha. She plays the female lead, Arkwade Brunstad. Another is Julianne Taylor, who plays Fujine in the Fate series, Ai Tanabe in Planetez, and Orga and Iron-Blooded Orphans as CL. These casting choices were just terrific, and at the same time, they did very well with their performances. To me, Arkwade is Michelle Ruff's voice because that voice just defines that character to me, and pretty much the same for every character right down to Akiya, Kohaku, and Hisui. So, when people say it shouldn't exist, I understand where some of this criticism is coming from, actually, and a lot of it has to do with the rushed last episode that left many people annoyed, and also the nagging plot holes in that episode. The first being is that at the end of the show, CL disappears and nobody remembers her. Now, it's never really explained why either of these two things happened. As a reader of the manga and a person who's currently in the beginning of playing the VN, I know what happens to her. She basically used magic to convince people she was CL, the gorgeous senpai at Shiki's school, but the show doesn't really ever explain this once. Another issue, and this one is a huge one if you know about it, but you'd likely never notice it otherwise and could give it a nice pass if you'd like. So when CL pushes the knife Shiki is holding into Roa, he instantly dies. To some, they rationalize this as him hitting the spine or a major organ, but to others, it just looks like he stabs him and he dies when he really shouldn't. What actually happens is, well, a huge portion involving Shiki the anime had to cut out, where he learns the ability to see the point of death. The way this works is that Shiki sees a point or multiple of them, and if he hits that point, no matter what, they instantly die. And as you can see, Shiki hits Roa's point of death, which kills him instantly. But besides some of these plot holes, the show just cuts out important stuff. Like, for example, the whole middle portion of the manga and the VN. And granted, the manga cuts out stuff too, but the manga didn't suffer like how the anime suffered. Instead of having these characters develop naturally throughout a 24-episode series, they stuff it into 12 episodes and focus way too much on characters they shouldn't be focusing on. They just didn't manage this project well at all when it came to the writing. They focus on supporting roles that mean nothing, like Yumizuka and Arihiko. If you need to make cuts, these are actually the two things you should probably cut first, not an important middle section that could have made this anime not just an above average to good anime, but a very good and very solid anime. In closing though, I get it. It's fun to be a part of a joke and mess around, but to put it simply, there is nothing here that says this anime is bad or that it shouldn't exist. If anything, I think for what it's trying to do, it's a good anime. And yeah, I understand, in comparison to the manga and the VN, it is a bad adaptation, and there's no denying that. And I do understand that for some anime it works better to be a straight-up adaptation, and not everything should do its own thing. But Lunar Legends Tsukihime is good. It's just painfully rushed and doesn't have a really good ending. But to leave you guys with a question, Tsukihime is a great series with a lot of great characters. Do you think that this anime adaptation of Tsukihime was bad just because of the ending? Or were there other factors that prevented your enjoyment? I would love to know what you guys are thinking. Personally, I think this anime should exist. Do you think it shouldn't? And are you excited for the remake that may be coming out of Tsukihime? I, for one, would love a remake of Tsukihime, and I hope they do it soon. I know they're doing their Fate thing right now, but hopefully, after Heaven's Feel is finished, we get some Tsukihime love. At least a remake of this story, at the very least, because the story with Arkwade, in my opinion, is really damn good on its own. But that's just one man's opinion. Of course, like I said, put down in the comments below what you think. And while you're down there in the comments, check out the description, subscribe, follow me on twitch.tv/SeaTactics to never miss my weekly anime podcast where we talk about all of the fall 2018 anime that you want to talk about. Things like Karakuri Circus, things like Goblin Slayer, things like That Time I Got Reincarnated into a Slime, all the big series, all of the hot topics of this season we're talking about over there on the KOA podcast. So go follow us on Twitch because we go live every Saturday and we're not waiting for you. Also, give this video a like, subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't already. I appreciate all the support you give me. You know I do. I'll see you guys later and have a happy Halloween. Goodbye.